Okay guys, Watchdog on USCF Watch. We're looking at the timeline of major gun regulations and infringements in the United States. 1791, the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment. Quote, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Gains final ratification. Okay, so it only took them 46 years to try to infringe on the Second Amendment, to violate the Constitution. 46 years. Georgia passes a law banning handguns. The law is ruled unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court and is thrown out. Okay, that's when we had a Supreme Court. Let's see when we lost our Supreme Court. Okay, here we go, 1865, that's about 28 years later. In reaction to emancipation, the ending of slavery, several southern states adopt black codes, which among other things forbid black persons from possessing firearms. In 1871, the National Rifle Association, the NRA, is organized around its primary goal of improving civilians' marksmanship in preparation for war. Big bastards, 1927, just before the Great Depression, the U.S. Congress, the prostitutes in Congress, passed a law banning the mailing of concealable weapons. And to not outdo themselves, in 1934, the National Firearms Act of 1934, regulating the manufacture, sale, and possession of fully automatic firearms like submachine guns, is approved by Congress. Guess why? The Great Depression, that's right. Right in the middle of the Great Depression, the Federal Reserve pays off the Congress with their Swiss bank accounts to pass this crap because they're afraid Americans are going to come storming in with machine guns. And that's exactly what Americans need to have in order to counteract these tyrants like the big bankers running the Federal Reserve. Yeah, these are the bastards who tried to form the American Liberty League, who were the same founders of the Council of Foreign Relations, headed by Prescott Bush, George W. Bush and H.W. Bush, grandfather and father, the big prostitute of the Order of Skull and Bones Yale Society, Prescott Bush, who tried to form a coup d'etat with the American Liberty League against Franklin Delano Roosevelt and failed because General Smedley Butler turned them into Congress. That's right, and they tried to squash that, but it got documented in a newspaper. And these big bastards, these are the people why you need submachine guns. You need fully automatic weapons to deal with these big bastards. Okay, here we go, 1938. This is when they put Adolf Hitler on the cover of Time magazine. Henry Lucy, the founder of Time magazine, skull and bones member of Yale University. So get the picture. They had meetings with Hitler in Germany to introduce a Nazi coup d'etat in America and take over America. So what's the first thing they do is ban persons from selling guns. You got to get a license, federal firearms license, FFL, right? So they can deny people who are going to resist their coup d'etat. That's what this is all about right here, guys. The Federal Firearms Act of 1938 places the first limitations on selling ordinary firearms. Persons selling guns are required to obtain a federal firearms license at an annual cost of $1. That's just to control you. That's it. And to maintain records of the name and address of persons to whom firearms are sold, so they can go and confiscate the guns from you. Gun sales to persons convicted of violent felonies were prohibited. Yeah, these are guys who were revolutionaries who were going to resist their coup d'etat, their bloody Nazi Hitler coup d'etat. This is tyranny. This is Nazi, neo-Nazi attempted takeover. This is the smoking gun right here. Just look at the history. Wake up. They failed to take over the United States in a coup d'etat. They put us into World War II, and then they established the National Security Act, the National Security Council, the National Security Agency that doesn't exist, and the CIA, okay? And that's what they did after that for their plan to take over America through the intelligence and the bureaucracy of the federal government. The Gun Control Act of 1968 was enacted for the purpose of keeping firearms out of the hands of those not legally entitled to possess them because of age, criminal background, or incompetence. The act regulates imported guns, expands the gun dealer licensing and recording keeping requirements, and places specific limitations on the sale of handguns, because they don't want a revolution to overthrow these bloody tyrants that they've taken over the United States and their bloody Fourth Reich of the Nazi Empire. This is the covert Fourth Reich headed by the Bushes. Right there, here's the smoking gun. The list of persons banned from buying guns is expanded to include persons convicted of any non-business related felony. Yeah, so the bankers and all the guys who are doing felonies, they can have guns, right? That's their program. Persons found to be mentally incompetent and users of illegal drugs. And guess what? That's when they start distributing drugs to everybody on campus. Yeah, LSD, marijuana, cocaine, all of it. And they make drugs illegal, right? So that you can't have a gun and you can't revolt against the Fourth Reich of the Nazi skull and bones empire. It's right there, people. Look at it. Wake up. Now what comes next? 1972, 4 years later. That's not enough. Now we need to make a separate bureau, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Well, it has nothing to do with alcohol and tobacco. That's like Federal Reserve. It has nothing to do with federal, or nothing's in reserve. This is your smoke and mirrors. It's all about firearms and creating part of its mission to control illegal use of sale of firearms and the enforcement of federal firearms laws, which are all unconstitutional. This is your Gestapo. It's called ATF. Wake up. Yeah, and guess what? 1977 is when H.W. Bush was the director of the CIA, sitting in the District of Columbia. So what do? They enact anti-handgun laws which require registration of all rifles and shotguns within the District of Columbia, because that's the greatest threat to these big bastards. And they know people are coming for them. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for standing up. Thanks for waking up. And let's put an end to this bullshit, tyranny, infringement on our Second Amendment. All this is designed to take over the United States by a group of bastards who have no faith in the Constitution, in God, or the American people. They're the enemy of the people, and we need to remove these restrictions, remove these infringements, and get our rights back, and lock and load, and get ready for shit hits the fan. Okay, be on the lookout for part 2. If you like this, subscribe, follow me, and you will get part 2 of this series. We're going to be continuing past 1977 with all the regulations coming up to the present day. Thanks.